If there's one thing I've learned from video games more than anywhere else, it's that sometimes you need to take a break from things you really, really enjoy. You're watching Rayl Deal Games, and as the title said, we're about to talk about why it is that you need to take a break from your favorite games sometimes. Now, this video is the byproduct of me working on a Hollow Knight Silksong video. I talked about this actually at the beginning of September, and I have been hard at work at Silksong. But it is something that I'm going to have to take a break from because of rushing for YouTube. Now, this is really a problem that has never really affected me before. It's affected a lot of YouTubers, but, you know, for a long time, this channel was really just a casual side thing that I didn't really put too much effort into. But over the course of 2025, I've been putting much more effort into this and over the overall quality of my videos, and that has led to a sense of rushing. Now, this has actually impacted many videos on my channel this year about games I was really, really hyped for, like Fatal Fury City of the Wolves, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3 and 4, and Ninja Gaiden Ragebound and Shinobi Art of Vengeance. These are like the 4 games that have been impacted by this so far, and to some small extent, Expedition 33, although I really did get to take my time with that game, and I got to enjoy it. It's just that by the time I finished it, I didn't feel like I could do a review, which was a separate problem entirely. Now, all of these games, the 4 games I mentioned, I had a lot of fun with them. I really, really did. But the issue is, I wanted to have more fun with them, and I couldn't. I had to rush through to finish the video. And this impacted the overall quality of the Fatal Fury City of the Wolves video and the Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3-4 video, in my opinion. Honestly, I had way bigger things in mind for both of those. I really wanted to 100% both of them, and this also is what I wanted to do with Shinobi Art of Vengeance and Ninja Gaiden Ragebound for that video. I wanted to 100% them because I really did enjoy both titles. And I think this is kind of analogous to the situation of you, the viewer. Possibly, although your time might be dominated by a full-time job and familial responsibilities. I know I have a lot of dads in my audience out there, so I understand completely if that's the thing that stops you from enjoying the games that you want. But this is why I really wanted to take a second and talk about this subject. Because I think in the modern era, we have this kind of like rush culture, like the new thing comes out, rush through it, finish it, and then move on to the next thing. Consume, right? And I have fallen prey to that this year in a way that I have never fallen for it before. Now, I'm a patient gamer through and through. I'm fine waiting 5 years after a game comes out to play it after everybody is done talking about it. And that really doesn't bother me personally, but that is antithetical to, you know, making content about stuff. You really do need to be fast on it if you're going to capitalize on interest of a title. It's something that I personally have really struggled with because it's very difficult to balance the various experiences that I really want to do. And I want to take a second and circle back to Hollow Knight Silksong because this is the game that spawned my interest in making this video. And it's because my rushing through this game has fundamentally tarnished some of my impressions of it in 3 particular categories. Now, these are 3 critiques that I think are honest, valid critiques to make, but because I was trying to speed up and get the video out, they started to bug me way more than I think they really should. And those 3 things are the runbacks, which, by the way, in a Souls-like experience is a personal pet peeve of mine. I don't like runbacks. I think because this is also a Metroidvania, a very solid Metroidvania. In fact, the Metroidvania elements of Silksong are my favorite things about it. Because it does have that design element, I think that these runbacks are kind of a callback to that design because a lot of Metroidvanias do have runbacks to bosses because, well, you're supposed to be able to power yourself up through your search action loop and really not have a runback at all. That's not all of them, but that's a lot of them, like Super Metroid, Castlevania, Symphony of the Night, and all the other hallmarks of the genre. The second is the number of murder rooms. It feels like every single time you enter an area, there's a new murder room waiting for you, and this really shouldn't bug me because boomer shooters are my favorite genre, as anyone who's watched this channel for a long time would know. And that whole genre is about walking into a new kill room and just experiencing the fun of the gameplay loop. And the fact that this the number of these bother me is clearly an expression of my exhaustion trying to keep up with kairotic game analysis and discussion on this platform. I think that's entirely where it's coming from for these first two things. And Kairos is a very tricky piece of rhetoric because it is all about timeliness. You have to keep up with what's hot, right? That's how you might have heard somebody refer to it. And it's really what the entirety of this platform is about, and is increasingly becoming that way in the shadow of slop content, honestly. That's where a lot of that kairotic appeal comes from. And the third thing that really stands out to me is something that I'm really bugged by, partially because of, the way I've been interacting with the media, is the 2 damage here, 2 damage there, 2 damage everywhere design of the enemies in Silksong. But this itself, I think, is something that I don't think I would mind, because I don't mind high punish hits in games. I mean, you would have seen by this point my 2D Ninja Gaiden versus 2D Shinobi video, and those games are very punishing. Ninja Gaiden might have a health bar, Ninja Gaiden NES is what I'm talking about, might have a health bar, but let's be honest with ourselves here. Most of the time you're getting punted into a hole and killed in one hit. And Shadow Dancer, you do die in one hit. So the idea that you get damaged highly is a perfection-based type of mastery or memorization difficulty. I think I would call Silksong more mastery-based on that kind of teeter-totter scale of difficulty design. And as a mastery-based game, it's something where you are supposed to play, lose, retry. And I do think the runbacks are supposed to play into this mastery-based design, even if they do bug me personally as a player, just because I don't like runbacks when I'm trying to learn a boss's mechanics. But all three of these are things that, by the end of my time finishing the game, may be things that I would critique for sure, or I would have specific instances where I would talk about I don't really like the design of this part or that part or whatever the case may be. But it's not something that should kill a game for me. And this really came to a head for me about 3 to 4 weeks ago, where I was almost at the end of the base experience for Silksong. I'm not really going to talk about the extra content for those of you who are still playing, but I almost rolled the very base credits that you can possibly run. I really just got to this point where I was so annoyed with everything. I was just angry anytime I saw any of the 3 things I mentioned. And I don't like that, because Silksong is a game that every time when I'm not dealing with these things, I'm like, wow, this game is excellent. And I do think that this is a byproduct of 2 things for me. One, I think it is the byproduct of playing a bunch of hard games in a row. I've been playing nothing but difficult games for months. Okay. Like, the easiest game I played in months is probably Street Fighter Alpha 1. And Street Fighter Alpha 1, not a difficult game by any means, but it is a fighting game, so it naturally has some kind of skill floor in terms of enjoying the game that just exists, right? Now, that floor is not really too insurmountable for me, but it's easy, but it's not like a casual, like, Stardew Valley experience or something like that, right? Like, it still required effort. And I think that's one thing where I've been chaining a bunch of games that are very, very hard all in a row. And it's something where it's like, when you're trying to rush through very, very difficult games, it's going to make them something that you are going to start nitpicking. And I don't want to be a nitpicky reviewer or analyst, because I think as soon as you're becoming nitpicky, you end up calling things flaws that are not flaws. That's why that combination of a lot of hard games in a row and wanting to keep up with quick YouTube turnaround, I had to put the game down for a little bit. I probably am not going to pick it up for a couple more weeks. Again, it's probably going to be November when I pick it up next, and that means my video on it probably not coming until next year, to be honest with you. And I think I just eventually had to be okay with that, as like the producer for the channel, right? As the person putting everything out on here. I really sat here and I thought hard about this, because I have missed the Kairos for Silksong. I've missed the timeliness. And I'm okay with that. I think it's something where if I had a full-time channel, maybe this wouldn't be a problem for me. But at the end of the day, I value quality over quickness in terms of analysis. I want my analysis to be quality, not quick, which The problem with quick is not just that you might start being nitpicky about things, it also means that you can be really influenced by a lot of other opinions coming out online, which is not really what I want to fall prey to, that kind of confirmation bias. I like to take a second and really think, is this bad or is it hard? Because hard is not always bad. Those two things are not the same, right? So is it bad design, or is it actually just really asking you to master it? That's something that I want to really think about for Silksong. This caused me to think really, really hard about other times where I've had to take a break from my favorite game. The first thing that came to mind was Sekiro: Shadows Die Twice, actually, which is a game that I love. I played it in 2019, and I got stuck on the final boss. Now, anyone who's followed the channel for a long time knows I don't look up guides. I'm a very guideless type gamer. I don't like looking up guides at all. So learning Sword Saint Ishin's attack patterns, very, very difficult. And I would have to take a couple day breaks in between each one of my attempts of the boss. And that was more for, you know, the rejuvenating nature of just slowing down and enjoying your time with the game. This has impacted my friends and I's impression of Mega Man games over the past year or two. Trying to finish a whole Mega Man game in one single day, really, really tough, especially when you're starting to get frustrated at the end. And I think that's why it's just very important that you take your time with games that you really do enjoy, because sometimes if you don't, you begin to get to this situation where you don't like a game that you actually do love. At times, I've hated some of my favorite games of all time because I was in a moment of just, frustration, either, bad day at school, bad day at work, infecting my interaction with media. And this is something that we always need to avoid, especially in an active media like video games. I think it's a little bit different if it's more passive like film, or if it's more passive like reading. Like reading, you're reading, so there's an action to that, but it's not skill-based unless you're reading something that's really, really difficult to understand and mentally taxing. That would be the exception. Same thing with film, I suppose, if it's mentally taxing. Video games require some kind of hand-eye coordination and quick movement. They require mastery of mechanics sometimes, and then they also require mental acuity at times. And the need for all three of these things to be good when you are going through life and you have your day-to-day stresses means that sometimes you got to take a break from your favorite game. And that's what I've had to do many times in my life, and what I have to do right now with Silksong. But guys, I'd really like to throw it back to you, and I'd like to hear your opinion. Is there a time where you have had to take a break from your favorite game? Do you think that if a game makes you angry and you get frustrated with it, it cannot be qualified as your favorite game? Let's talk about that in the comments below. And while you're down there, I hope you guys give me a subscribe, a like, maybe leave a comment for this discussion if you weren't thinking about it before. And I would also appreciate it if you hyped up the video a little bit. That's a neat little feature that's very helpful to small channels. I've got loads of good stuff on the horizon for you guys. I've got my Def Jam Fight for New York video that hopefully should be coming out sometime soon, and all kinds of other stuff always on the horizons. I want to thank you guys for watching this video, and I hope you tune in to my next one. Regardless of what you choose to do, thank you for keeping it real with Rayl Deal Games, and I hope you have a great day.